they're on it. If it should be news, they're ahead of it. Stay connected to the newswire of the 21st century with Twitchy.com. Twitchy.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wait.
So at first, when I first heard about this new bill by the moron thief Democrats of Illinois, I was mad. I got mad. It's another infringement on the honest man, on the decent, law-abiding, hard-working American who thinks his country's going to protect him because we had rights and amendments and principles that built the country 250 years ago. But when you really start to dig into these Democrat, once great areas, now ghettos, you realize it's completely orchestrated by the self-loathing resident. Who would elect these imbeciles? My next guest is fighting off elitist so-called doctors. When you look at him, he's just a child. From the Gun Owners of America, Luis Valdes. How are you, handsome?
My brother from another mother. I am right now sucking oxygen through a straw because of a nasty chest cold, but I am still here for you and your listeners.
Oh, well, thank you. How the hell you... Vicks, under your arms, on your chest. Vicks cures everything. Are you kidding me? It's the only medicine we ever had in my neighborhood because we knew if you're surrounded by doctors, even if they're Democrats, you don't go to them. That's kind of what brings us right into this idiot, this child from UIC who pretends to be a surgeon, but when you look at him, he's just a kid. He's a resident who wants to have this idea that Americans, the average citizen after all, you're too stupid. You're not worthy to have rights. That's only for bureaucrats and government agents who have the power of police protection like Brandon Johnson. How can you even wrap your mind around this intellectual fraud, this midget pretending to be an elitist as a doctor who says the average Chicagoan doesn't deserve a Second Amendment?
You know, it's insulting, especially when he said, oh, well, poor people really don't benefit from gun ownership. I'm sorry. Last I checked, poor people were the most people that benefited from gun ownership because they're the most prone to being victims of crime.
Well, of course. We have 111 people that have been shot in April. And when you go, there's a wonderful site, Louis. I don't know if I ever told you about it. It's called CWB Chicago. It's one of the last places that actually reports. And just minutes ago, we've got a man arrested for the third time on the red line with a gun 13 days after being arrested for dope on a revolving door. We've got another man with a gun on the red line. We've got 9 people who attacked the CTA passenger in the Loop. So the examples of the collapse of society and our once great city devolving into a ghetto is everywhere to be found. All you have to do is look. But Dr. Anthony Douglas, a University of Chicago trauma resident, a child, an intellectual midget, somehow sponsors or is the push behind a bill that could once again infringe on legal gun owners in my old state. Is that true?
That's very well true. He's a proponent for it. He's been vocally pushing for it. He is the impetus behind its introduction, and his entire mindset is, well, let's just raise the freeze, and poor people don't need guns. It doesn't benefit them. As a doctor, I know this. Look, as a cop, I know this. Poor people need guns because last I checked, cops ain't in poor neighborhoods, and last I checked, poor people don't have the ability to afford fences and with motion cameras and lights and armed security agents and safe touch security and a personal protection detail like Jabba the Pritz. But everyday Americans are expected to just disarm and lay down for criminals? No, screw that.
Well, what's funny is they're just going to undermine the decent people the way that we own guns. They won't stop one gang-banging scumbag. But the whole thing behind it is just to make everybody a pigeon, make everybody a victim. It's called the Rifle Act, and if passed, it will require manufacturers that want to access the Illinois market to obtain licenses and pay different amounts, and it's always going to make the liability of the Democrat scumbag that rapes and robs and pillages his fellow citizen. Somehow they want to sue the gun manufacturers. And the other answer is this: it's a big country. If I were the owner of one of these gun manufacturing companies, even the one in Springfield, it's called Springfield Armory, just stop selling to Illinoisans. Is it really worth the headache? And let them to their own devices. Let the scum take over. It'll be great. Why not have that approach? Because at a certain level of entitlement and stupidity of this affirmative action moron doctor who pretends to be smart because he's got some degree that he probably didn't earn, to come up and think at what, 30, 29, 28, whatever this intellectual midget is, I've got the answer, when I could change his mind in a garage. Because if I decide to rob this pansy, he's going to wish he had a gun to stop me. But I lived in the real world, and I know what real danger is. Why do we even listen to these imbeciles who are Democrats? I mean it. At this point in America, with the collapse of these once great areas and the financial turmoil and the robbing and the raping and round door with judges letting them go, I say, and I mean it, just abandon the ship. Good people abandon the ship and let them have their way. How much longer until the gangster disciples take over Chicago? And at least we won't have to watch them in suits. What do you think?
Part of me supports that, but in reality, no, because all Americans have the same rights and privileges that come with being Americans. And the idea of surrendering territory to the enemy is tantamount to treason. This is the United States of America. We're about to celebrate our 250th anniversary of independence, of telling the crown to go shove it over gun control. It is the 50th anniversary of gun owners of America being in existence, of us having a no-compromise attitude of telling the gun grabbers in Illinois and in D.C. to shove it where the sun don't shine. And no, every American, even those in Illinois, they deserve the rights that they were born with for them to be able to exercise it freely without some scumbag in Springfield telling them what they can and can't do.
2 charged with kidnapping, robbing a man as he left the Gold Coast bar, may have targeted other victims, armed. Do you think they had a FOID card? Do you think these 2 degenerate scumbags who robbed the guy on the Gold Coast, and this is just story after, here's a moron with face tattoos. He attacked a woman 9 months after being released from prison on an ankle bracelet. So the other thing is, why I say this, let these scum visit the good doctor, see if he wishes he had a gun. This is the part that amazes me. They pretend that what they're doing is solving things, when what they've been doing since Democrats have introduced the Safety Act, since the modern-day Democrat Obama, man, you could go back 50 years. All they've ever done is strengthen the position of the scumbag. And that's what Chicago Democrat means. It is the protector of the scum and turning decent people into perpetual victims. How could you see it any other way?
Well, that's exactly what they do. We've had this discussion multiple times on this show. These lawmakers, these public officials, what they want is they want to disarm the public, so the public is now reliant on those officials for protection. It is no different than the serfdom and classes of nobility of old in Europe. I'm the landed gentry. You're the peasant, the serf, working my land. As long as you work my land, I will provide you protection within the walls of my kingdom if you pay my tax. And that's what they want. They want to return to that. And the entire American ideal was, no, I am king in my own home. My own home is my castle. And by God, I have the right to defend myself in my home, in my castle, and outside of its walls, because I'm a free person. I have the right to be where I have the right to be in public. And I cannot be disarmed, and I shall not be disarmed. And as we've discussed this, look, you and I both, we have carried when we weren't allowed to carry by law, because guess what? Our lives are worth more than some piece of paper that government says it is.
And I knew full well that the scourge that wanted to do me and everybody harm, they were not paying attention to the laws then, as they do not pay attention to them now. And the fear of this act, the Rifle Act, is that other Democrat dungholes, other fiefdoms, will take up with it, and this will be the norm, and you'll chase out those very manufacturers. And moreover, you will have manufacturers that simply stop sending weapons to Democrat-run areas. And at this stage of what you've already combated in court, because you, Gun Owners of America, have taken on J.B. Pritzker since he really went into office and decided to be the fascist he was meant to be, and his policies lead him to be. So he's lost on virtually every level. Even if passed, this will be defeated, and it will just be a court case, and it should be. But is that the route we're just going to have to go, is to continually combat the traitors who pose themselves as Illinois Democrat lawmakers?
Well, as you're well aware, our lawyers are already, they're on the plate, ready to go to bat against it if it passes. And as you're well aware, my word of advice is, look, we want to resolve this peacefully in the court of law. We're a nation of laws. We're a nation of gentlemen. We're supposed to do that. But the Founding Fathers gave us teeth for a reason. The Second Amendment says shall not be infringed for a reason. And we have some historical examples of that. A great example of that is the Battle of Athens, Tennessee, right after World War II. A bunch of GIs came home. Corrupt county sheriff tried to rig the elections, and a bunch of GIs said, to hell with this, and grabbed their guns, got in a rolling gun battle with the corrupt sheriff, and made sure a fair election was held.
They've been able to really drive up the costs for decent people in Illinois to have guns and to use guns, and the laws that are on the forefront, and the regulations of this idea you're going to give unique serial numbers to bullets and the rest of it. This is the economic assault on legal gun ownership, and the bureaucratic tyranny and weaponization of laws and regulations. If we can't, and when I say we, I mean, Illinois residents who have been undermined from corrupt elections and corrupt counties. If you cannot combat this from the ballot box in these areas, as Democrats will continue to win, they could dig up Manson and run him as a Democrat. He'd win in Illinois. What exactly should be done by the legal citizens? I mean, we've had 33 counties that have voted for secession. It falls on deaf ears. They've been abandoned by their federal government. How would you structure a lawsuit to really handcuff the tyrant, the fascist, the communist, the Marxist, the Chicago Democrat? What is the best way to take this when we have a super minority? You have an imbecile now running for governor who doesn't know his ass from his elbow. He's going to lose and walk away. I mean, I think Pritzker could decide he quits and the Republican candidate still wouldn't win. So how do you think the Illinois gun manufacturers, the people who make their money in this business, the people who have been there since the founding of the country, what is the right lawsuit that really kind of puts them on the bench? Because it's just the same thing. You beat them every 5 months, every 6 months. They keep coming back. What's the best way to have the federal government come in and say, enough is enough. You can't take away the rights of American citizens?
Well, as we're well aware, the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice just literally told Virginia if they sign their assault weapons ban into law, they will challenge them in federal court. What Illinois residents need to do is they need to contact the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division and say, hey, you guys are fighting the fight in the U.S. Virgin Islands. You're fighting the fight in the state of Virginia. We need you guys to fight the fight here in Illinois, because they are also fighting a good fight in California, too, against the L.A. Sheriff's Office for delaying CCW permits. Now, all of that coincidentally happens to coincide with all of our lawsuits, by the way. But what Illinois residents and manufacturers and industry partners could do is, rather than contact the Department of Justice, which is right now needs to be done, is join GOA. And I'm not saying this because, hey, look, every penny that someone donates to GOA goes into my pocket, far from it. It's because every penny that someone donates to GOA goes into our lawsuits. But join GOA. It's gunowners.org/join. It's just $25 a year. Every penny goes towards the fight. And look, I'm not in this because this is my job. I'm in this because my goal is to work my way out of a job. Right. The American people have the right to keep and bear arms. I took that oath to defend it both as a cop and when I enlisted to the military. And by God, I still uphold those oaths. And that is our purpose. Our purpose is to make ourselves irrelevant as an organization to make sure the Second Amendment is there in full faith and credit, being exercised and protected.
You know what else is interesting? You know, Springfield Armory is one of the oldest companies in America, isn't it? I mean, it's an Illinois company. They're gun manufacturers, right? Isn't that, Honey Bunny, you have a relative that worked there for years and years. And, you know, these companies, they've been neutered. They had their legs taken out from under them. And the way in which they've made this process is through sales. And I'm wondering if there isn't a way to use the very benefits of being Gun Owners of America against the tyrants. Has Gun Owners of America explored the idea of becoming kind of a club, a country club, a union of sorts, where if you join, you have different programs, and say you join and it's $1,000, but Gun Owners of America, for your membership, they send you a firearm. They send you bullets. They send you, and you make it all inclusive to Gun Owners of America. Now you take away the very process in which government in these corrupt areas, and it wouldn't just fit for Illinois. Think about it. It would fit for California. It would fit for all these Democrat areas that want to make it very difficult for citizens to have firearms. But if we're part of a society, a membership, a private club, could we in fact circumvent this process and then make you as an organization that fights for the Second Amendment as a paid for member? Now you give us the guns, and we don't have to deal with these idiots anymore. There's always a way to manipulate the law in which it's been bastardized against us. Have they explored the idea of Gun Owners of America? Because it's such an incredible value. What is it, $25 a month? Why not make it $1,100 a year? And now you get 2 9mm. And this way, we can circumvent the way in which they want to make it difficult for us to stay armed.
Well, GOA actually has, on the corporate level, we have strategic partnerships, and we have what's called Caliber Club. And Caliber Club is a membership program for industry partners, for ranges, for gun shops, and vendors. And our strategic partnership program is specifically with large-scale manufacturers and distributors. And we have a number of partners all across the country that specifically are members, and the best thing that they get is, instead of getting a firearm, instead of getting ammunition, or instead of getting something like, they get legal protection because we get them to join in our lawsuits. For example, when we had our lawsuit against the Biden pistol brace ban, we had a number of manufacturers join in that, which means those companies were protected and were able to sell their products nationwide due to the injunction we had filed against the Biden administration. So we actually do that on a corporate and national level.
Oh, I love this, because this has to be a way to put a nail in the coffin of fascism and tyranny and abuse of our rights, the way we see it in these Democrat enclaves. And, you know, one of the great examples, I think it culminates with a lot of abuses, is the story in Fort Myers. I'm sure you saw it. It's big news where I am. The Haitian who smashed the convenience store, also an immigrant, a legal immigrant, who smashed her skull in with a hammer. And if she would have only had a gun, we could have really, that story could have been a lot different. So we have the examples, we have the principles, we have American rights, and you should have Gun Owners it's gunowners.org, right, for $25 and to watch it grow.
Yep, gunowners.org/join, $25 a year.
All right, well, listen, I hope you feel better. Now, Vicks on the bottom of your feet, put your socks on. You're going to feel silly, but you'll feel better in the morning. All right?
Look, as a Cuban, I grew up with Vicks on my chest. And now as an adult, it's just Bacardi 151.
Exactly.
I figure it this way.
Yeah, your wife thinks it's cologne now. Yes.
If I get rid of all the weak cells in the body, it's like herd immunity. You know, like the lion goes after the weak member of the herd. I'm just getting rid of the weak cells in the body. It's the strong one survives.
Yes. Your father and I would both agree. If you feel this bad, smoke a cigar. You'll feel better. Luis Valdes, thanks for always making time, whether you're sick or in health. Thank you very much.
Always, brother.
Thank you. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
He believes in freedom, capitalism, and individual liberty. And because of that, he's become an enemy of the state. He's Shaun Thompson, and this is The Shaun Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.